Hello, hello, hello. Today is Fun Day Monday, January 9th, 2023. Um, I sorry, I'm a little distracted today more than usual. Um, Overwhelmingly stressed that's distracting me, but God got me. God got me. Uh, all right. So this show is for I can't rock no other paraphernalia other than the Bears. I'm a Bears fan. Shot town, stand up and represent. We all got one love for Delmar Hamilton, number 3 Buffalo Bills. I'm not saying I'm a Bills fan, clearly, but man, it was remarkable. That young man at only 24 years old. He helped a lot of people just look beyond all the things that make them different. We all have love for the game, and we all got together when we saw what happened with him and when we heard what happened with him, and saw it in the replays, and saw that he died on the field, trying to play what he loved, trying to play the sport that he loved. And he died for 10, 15 minutes. And everybody just got together and prayed for him. And, it didn't matter that I'm a Bears fan, it didn't matter that somebody else is a Green Bay fan. And it didn't matter who was on the field when all of that was going on. Only thing that mattered is that somebody was standing in the need of prayer, and everybody pulled together and just prayed for that young man. You know, we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be perfect, but God heard our prayers and He answered. And then at number 3, back out there. He's back out there in the world, walking around and not in the hospital. Hey Matthew, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Please stay tuned. Um, and it's like, a lot of people, they're like, one of the things that's distracting me is that I spoke with someone most recently who asked me a question about about my perspective on culture and um, activist type of issues. Um, my uncle Fred Shuttlesworth was not a radical. Um, um, I don't even know how to put it, because I'm not saying that being radical for anything you're extremely passionate about is a bad thing necessarily, but a lot of people have their opinions about um things that they're, especially in America, or if they're white and they turning red in the face. Hey, Sean Anthony, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. And it's like, just because somebody's passionate about something doesn't mean that they're a radical for it. And just because someone supports something doesn't mean that, it has to be in a negative way and that there's a negative light shed on it. No, and, a lot of people, they support the NFL and they're happy about, being entertained in the way that the NFL is constantly putting that entertainment out there. And it's like, when number 3 went down and didn't get back up, everybody was concerned, genuinely concerned, like, what's going on? The first thing some people did was, tell some jokes. There's nothing wrong with jokes. I'm a fan of jokes. Um, hey sis, how you doing? Thank you for coming. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. I got a good one for you today. Um, so it was hard to see a lot of people who looked at, the situation and um, started to make fun of the situation, especially once everyone realized how critical the situation was and how detrimental those prayers that went out for number 3 were. So even if you're not a fan of, the Buffalo Bills, or if you're not even a fan of the NFL, period, it's still a life that was laying there in the need of prayer. And a lot of people, once they heard, they just started praying. They probably never even watched a Buffalo Bills game or never cared for the team, but everybody just prayed for that young man. He was only 24. He is only 24. And, God bless that he was able to get up and walk away from the situation. And even though I'm a Bears fan, I have to say I prayed for that young man. I prayed for him because I don't know him personally. I don't have to know him personally. I don't have to know everything that that young man went through. When you see somebody standing in the need of prayer or help in some type of way, because it's a moment where it's life threatening, you don't necessarily think, you just act. And in that action, you might save a life. You might, find fulfillment in your life. Whatever, positive you may get out of putting all that positive energy out into the atmosphere, that's great. But it shouldn't be looked at as being a negative thing. So it is distracting when people say negative things like, because they're leaning to their own understanding instead of just asking you the question. I love everybody. I don't care. And that's why one of the most profound things that I noticed with number three situation, it brought together a lot of people who were, at odds. When the teams are playing, emotions are high, fights break out even. And it's like, when that situation happened, everybody just stopped. Stop being evil, stop thinking negative thoughts, just stop. And for that moment, oh, I see. Yeah, a lot of people are sometimes even watching the NFL, Matthew. So, you're not the only one. I became sometimes with it because I was tired of the controversy. I was tired of trying to pick a side. Are you for, this or for that? Are you against? And if you're for this, then you're against that. I was tired of that. So it was just too much drama for me to be as consistent as I would have normally have been. But when I saw what happened with number three, no matter how consistent, my viewership was, I just prayed. And he brought a lot of people together that just prayed. It didn't matter what prayer they said. It didn't matter if they were Muslim, Hindu, whatever they was. They prayed that to the same God is one body but many parts. So many different prayers, many different tongues, many different languages, many different faiths, all believed in this man's healing and recovery, full recovery. A lot of people were saying that they were a little skeptical, but they're going to pray anyway. It don't matter. All it takes is a mustard seed of faith, a mustard seed of prayer, and you saw what that little bit did. There was so many people around the nation that prayed for that young man and had hope for that young man, even though that young man couldn't talk and couldn't pray and couldn't even, try to intercede for himself. A lot of people prayed and God heard those prayers. I know I'm imperfect and I know I pray and I look at it like, God answered the prayer because, even though I'm imperfect and I prayed, he got up, he up and about, he walking and he got a message and he spread love and well-being to people and just giving them hope that even if it looks hopeless, don't give up. That young man had no idea that him fighting for his life was going to signal or simplify that that there's hope when there is no hope. There's life even though someone else is speaking death. There's positive even in the negative. There's light even in the dark. So don't give up. And why is that important? Because I know I've said it several times in my different shows, and I try to keep these shows light and full of humor. But mental health is the answer to why a lot of these problems are viewed in negative lights because where you are mentally, where you are emotionally, not just your physical situation, because a lot of people are well to do. Though, it's a lot going on wrong with the world and the economy and food prices and gas prices, a lot of people are still well to do. And that's a blessing that no one should take for granted. However, it's the matter of the fact that a lot of times people see in a negative light, and these things that's happening, that's bringing everybody together in prayer, is happening in a way where it's like I'm looking past those things that divide us, and I'm happy about that because I grew up with white people, Asians, Hispanics, um, African Americans, clearly. And, my very first BFF was a blonde alabaster skin chick when we were just little, and I didn't know what a BFF was. And how did I know we was BFFs? Because she said, "Look, we best friends forever, okay?" And I just shook my head. Mm-hmm. We were kids. We were little kids. So I didn't see, skin color. And, you know, me growing up as a little girl, I was in a predominantly white school. I didn't want to be there because all the controversy and the stress and the drama. And I was there anyway. And it was distracting to my studies, and my focus was off. And it was like, I didn't understand, the differences until I was in that school. And people said things like, "Oh, you too light skinned to be black. If it wasn't for your hair, we wouldn't even know you black." And then I know, right, Jackie? And then, the white people was like, "Oh, no, I I can tell." I used to be even lighter than this. They would say, I can tell by your hair that you're not white. So you can't hang with us." So it was difficult for me to find a place where I can be comfortable and socialize comfortably and be free to have friends and talk to people. And Catherine, she felt the same way because back then, if you get a haircut and that haircut isn't like the other little girls' haircuts, you are out of the clique. You are out of the clique. So it was cool that, she found, me as a friend, and she felt comfortable, talking to me. And nobody knows how dark the mental spaces were that she expressed and other people expressed when it was difficult for them to deal with separation. Yeah, I understand, Matthew, and a lot of people don't see it until somebody kind of like shoves their face into it. And it's like now it's so prevalent, and it's so in your face. That's what prevalent means. It's so in your face that it's like there's no avoiding it. You can't get out of it no matter which way you turn, which it matter which way you look. You just in this you in the mix, and there's no getting out of it. And that could put people in dark spaces that they may not feel comfortable talking to you about. A lot of people that harm themselves, they don't feel comfortable talking to the people about their contribution to them feeling that way. And when you say things to people, for example, when a lot of people prayed for number three, some people said, your prayers are in vain because he dead. He was dead for 15, 10 minutes. He brain dead no matter what you say or whatever. But God can. And as long as you believe, and I've said it before in this show, that a man believeth, so is he. And if you believe, and it's a bunch of people that's believing, I'm a Doctor Who fan. Who's a Doctor Who fan? It was one episode where he had on there where everybody thinks the same thought. And this one person went around telling everybody, it's like a minister or a prophet that will go around encouraging everybody to think the same thought, believe the same thing just for that moment. And in doing so, something's going to happen at the appointed time. Something's going to happen at the appointed time. I know, right, Jackie? You feel me? Hey, Daddy Lee, that's my bonus dad right there. Hey, Mama Charlotte, that's my bonus mom. Um, so anyway, and in that episode, it exhibited what a lot of scientists, and I guess you can consider me to be a scientist. I've been studying, these studies for a very long time, all my life. So, in studies, they throw out these outliers. They throw out, these things that they call a throwaway, or, something that you outcast because it just isn't in alignment with what you're trying to do and what you're trying to say. So, um, the point is, I got distracted for a little bit. The light isn't shining on that aquarium properly. Um, Hopefully, one of the guys can get this light. So anyway, everybody thought the same thought, and at the appointed time, um, Doctor Who, he was, dying, and for whatever reason, when everybody thought the same thought at the same time, there was a key, the signal that went off, and in that signal, um, everybody saw everybody saw that Doctor Who started to strengthen up, and his strength was restored, and then suddenly things started to turn around and look better for him. And guess what? That's the same thing in a way that happened with number three, when people started to believe and they said, well, or some discouraged him and said, well, your prayers are in vain. That brother is gone. Your young man is gone. Let him go. Let him stay gone. That wasn't, you know, what a lot of people were willing to accept. And because not everybody was willing to accept it, they continued to believe. They said, and some people even said, I think it's hopeless, but I'm going to pray. I'm just going to give a little faith towards the miracle that could be his testimony. And surely enough, what happened? It happened. That little bit of faith, that mustard seed of faith. And it was an episode that I did that I showed what a mustard seed is. It's so tiny that you don't realize how potent it is and how powerful that it can make it can manifest intangible things to a physical presence, to a physical being. Are we Dr. Hey, sometimes you just gotta relax and enjoy some of the finer things in life. And Doctor Who is definitely one of the finer things in life. But anyway, it's just one of those things that shows, that it's not just, people throwing Bibles at other people. It's not just Japanimation. I like the way they have implemented their faith in their cartoons. A lot of people aren't even aware that, that stuff is, the cartoon is exhibiting the faith that they have. And even in their jobs, when they're working, they have a lot of people that's outside of their culture have no idea that a lot of their mannerism in their business and the way they conduct themselves is a lot of faith-based, that's being exhibited in their business, and that's done so well for their various organizations that is just phenomenal that that business model isn't more Americanized, but is whatever. Faith will move mountains. Faith will take you where your flesh can't. Amen, sis. Amen. I'm gonna leave that up there for everybody that might not, read as fast, but I did read it for you. But I'm gonna tell you, I've been trying to say this for so many years now. Back when I was at downtown Chicago attending USC, what was it? Um, what was it? The election, and to me, I back then kind of to be seen and not heard. So that was one of the issues. Women are to be seen and not heard. If you're African American, a lot of times you will not even seen, okay? You're not even seen, especially in the business world. So it was like um a lot of these things that I was saying that I saw and I witnessed were being done. They were like, well, is it? No, it's not. It's not relevant. And unfortunately, I didn't understand the etiquette, the classroom etiquette. So, I kind of stepped on the professor's toes, and that didn't go well at all. But if you call on people and they asking questions, why are you offended? Why are you offended by a student asking questions? This is supposed to be a safe space to collaborate and throw out ideas and work through stuff and learn. And it's like, but I asked the question and suddenly it didn't go so well. But here we are today, still understanding and seeing exactly what I said way back then. Not that I'm a genius or anything, but when you grow up in church, when all the people that are like elders and apostles and, people of, high stature in faith, and the things that they're showing you and the way they're showing you to live your life is being exhibited by example. And you're seeing all these miracles happen for them, and you seeing the way their life go. And you're like, man, wow. Ooh, yeah, maybe there is something to that. And then you start going to school and you start writing these papers and you referencing the Bible like it's, a literary work of art, and they tell you, you can't reference the Bible. I'm like, what do you mean? You ask for references and this is where it came from and the book, and this is why it's relevant, and you make the connections and they say, you can't do that. You can't reference, but things have changed, and the APA that is, tolerated that you can reference the Bible, and it even has a way for you to be able to do that a lot better. Things change, and that's because scientists cannot dispute the fact that it is um, faith over matter. Faith over matter, and a lot of people are like, well, how is that possible? It's possible because faith manifests things physically. And everybody was, when they were reading, when of I that I know of, when people were reading about faith, the size of a mustard seed, and how I was asking the same question: how can you make faith that's a tangible substance manifest itself into a non tangible substance in order to produce a tangible substance? It was crazy. I got to tell you, I was going crazy trying to figure it out. And people were like, you think it's too deep. You think it's too deep. Not that deep. It's not that serious. It's not that serious, Tina. You think you make more out of it than what it really is. And I'm like, but I'm trying to understand. Hey, Ty, it's good to see you, honey. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. So it was like, um, when I went to school, then it was like I'm asking these same questions, and you asking scientists, people with PhDs and people with neurological studies and all of these, mathematical equations. And currently, I like the TikTok that's going around saying, and you got a little chart there, and it says, the more you fool around, the more you find out. I love it. I love it. If you haven't seen it, go watch that. That's amazing, and it's so accurate. Because I in a couple of shows I mentioned, everybody's trying so hard to categorize things and try to put statistics to things and try to put measurements to things in order to test to see if it's really real, if it's true. And it's like, yeah, it's true. Why are we constantly trying to prove something that's already been proven, as if we ourselves are recreating the wheel, when what we're really doing is furthering the understanding by contributing our observation to establish or further establish what's already been created. So stop letting sidestep you and confuse you and run you down rabbit holes that you know full well ain't gonna go nowhere but waste your time and your money for those who are watching. All right, that's for you. But anyway, um, I was saying about how sometimes the little bit of faith that we have is now being manifested in a way that's for people to say, statistically, that doesn't make sense. We need to, like I've said before, we need to circle back and get those outliers, get those people that were throwaways, outcasts, and because that's where these anomalies are. A lot of people were like, well, how can you tell whether the times made the people great or whether the person was great already, and for whatever reason, they just manifested that greatness at this particular time. Look, I have an answer for that. But again, I'm a scientist and I have to earn a living as well. But I'm going to give you this because a lot of people don't listen anyway when you talk about the Bible. So I'm going to talk about the Bible and I'm going to say there is a scientific way to prove it. But that a man believeth, so is he. I told a doctor most recently, I was in a conference with a doctor, and um, I heard about his study and I thought it was awesome because I considered doing neurology studies before I did the IELTS psych studies that I'm doing now. Um, because Uncle Fred was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it really made me feel more involved and want to get more involved in studies of the brain. Now, psychology is the study of human brain and behavior. So I've always been interested in that, but you got to pick. You got to pick whether you're doing the physical or whether you're doing the um, the various studies, the psychological. So I always felt that, both of them were, hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other. But I didn't know that some people, they just can't see it. So it's like I had to be, I had to be told is and why that is that that's not possible to do. So then I began to understand ways that people could see, and that's what I addressed with the young man yesterday in that conference. I told him there's something about the brain synapses send off signals that manifests itself physically. Now we already know that. We already know that in human anatomy, we know that. But there is something about the people who believe in God, and I've spoken about that in different episodes where there was things where people were um, in the hospital, and they treated the two different patients differently, those that believed in God and those that didn't. And they watched them. There was nothing that they can do. And the people that believed in God had a better outcome than those that didn't, which means it solidifies the fact that there is something happening that in your brain, the human brain, and we don't just we there's so much to know about brains, the human brain, that it's ridiculous. We don't know. Even with gene patch studies where the guy half his brain was blown off and he still lived. They thought he would die, but he still lived because God had a message. And the message was stop leaning to your own understanding. It's written in the book. I'm not saying anything ingenious here. I'm just repeating what was out there. Anyway, so when they looked at it, they're starting to see now. They're starting to see, yeah, the brain synapses, these things are doing something. Just like there was a Dr. Sunjay Gupta. He noticed he was a heart surgeon or is a heart surgeon. He's a specialist, a heart specialist. I don't know if he's still a surgeon or whatever, but he's a heart specialist. He noticed how the body, when the body had a heart attack, and it had a clogged artery, a carotid artery, and the patient needed surgery, a bypass surgery. And in this surgery, the patient, when they finally opened him up, when he got his affairs in order, they didn't know if he was going to even make it. But when he got his affairs in order and they finally opened him up, the doctor noticed something was going on with his body automatically. His body had already started to give itself a bypass. Now that's faith. A lot of people say, I don't want to know what's wrong with me. I don't go to the doctor because every time I go to the doctor, they find something that's wrong with me. And I don't believe anything wrong with me that I won't get over. I'll recover from it by just, daily, by daily bread, whether that's God, whether that's you read your Bible, or you having just the faith of the size of a mustard seed, and that's what's making you heal or recover or do whatever it is that you need to do to live through whatever you're going through. That is now being tested in so many ways, but people are still asking the same question. Now, let me tell you why it is. A lot of times people, they ask questions for 20 years, same question, because they're testing it in different places and in different situations and with different people and different atmospheres. And oh, well, you have this diagnosis, but this prognosis wasn't yours, so it's not the same, so we have to do this and we have to do that because that prognosis was more difficult or deadly or fatal than the one he tested. So we got to keep, so they keep testing and testing. They keep finding reasons why they got to keep testing the same thing. Now, I don't believe in doing all that in order to make change, but that is what happens oftentimes. But the problem is the fact remains. That a man believeth, so is he. So what is the key to people's mental well-being? It is your faith. It is that you believe. If you believe that the doctor says, oh, you're depressed, you have a diagnosis of depression. Okay, that's your diagnosis, that's your prognosis, whatever the case is. But if you believe that you can recover, you will continue slowly. Now, it takes a long time because the words in your mouth doesn't necessarily get to your brain. I know a lot of people who out here, they say, well, I told myself to run, but I was stuck. I couldn't move. I couldn't move. I tried to move, but I couldn't move, but I believed I could. So like the little trainer could, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, until he finally actually did. What you say, Jackie? Take it from me. Multiple situations where the doctor said I shouldn't be walking, yet I'm walking. I give it all to God. Hey, I feel you, sis. I feel you. Not long ago, I was paralyzed from the waist down. I couldn't walk, and I was a track star. I was modeling a size zero. I was in it, baby. I was in it to win it. And then when I was paralyzed from the waist down for a long time, I could not walk. I couldn't recover, and they looked at me like, I have no idea how it is you're walking. I don't even know how you were walking to be walking the little bit of walking that you were doing. I said, well, I pray a lot. I don't go around broadcasting that, but they asked me and they kept badgering me. They wanted to know, how is it that you're able to even walk just a little bit of walking that you're doing? And I had to tell them, you know, I broke down. I was like, well, I pray a lot. And that, what else could I say? I knew how that sounded as a scientist, but I also knew how that sounded as a person of faith that grew up seeing what I saw. And I know I'm not crazy, you know. And a lot of people that's watching number three get up and walk after he was dead, you know, and people spoke life into him. A lot of those people are like, I know I ain't crazy. Wasn't that brother dead? Yes, he was dead, but life was spoken into him and he got up. And a lot of people are saying, well, you could be dead for a certain number of hours or minutes or whatever they may say. I don't know. But a reasonable explanation for miracles, but they don't really always say it was that wasn't none but God, because we do not know. That's right. And that part comes to mind all the time, Jackie. Take up thy bed and walk. That is what the written word says, and that is what we are seeing in these last days. And I don't want to be that one that's throwing the Bible at folks saying this is the end. This is the end. We're in the end times, but you seeing it just like I'm seeing it. If you read the book of Revelations or you read the Bible or a lot of these other books of faith that's starting to have prophetic ministry that's showing that you picking up the Bible and reading that, and then you looking at the news today, and it's you can't tell if you watching the news or you reading the Bible. You might be in the last days. I'm just saying. Don't take my word for it. Just watch for yourself, learn for yourself, come back, conversate, let's talk about it. But a lot of studies are showing, and the number get up and his and he put out so much love into the community, so much hope, and speaking hope into others and speaking life into others. And now all of that he put out there in the atmosphere is being returned to him in the harvest that he put out there. I'm not saying that man was perfect. I'm not saying that man is Jesus. I'm not saying anything other than the facts. He did a lot of work. He did a lot of good, and that good that he put out there, it was returned to him. And it didn't return to him, boy. He got up and walked, and I'm so happy for him. What did you say, Jackie? I don't want to be a Bible thumper either, but God is who He is. Yes, He is, and I'm on His team too, sis. I don't know what side, what paraphernalia we wear, what kind of hat we wear, but I promise you, I'm on this side. And I'm not down in whatever route anybody's taking to be on his side. I'm on his side too. So I tell anybody that's willing to listen, you know, it is what it is beyond what we feel is acceptable to be said or to be spoken, because we live it ourselves. For example, when I know story time, but when I was in high school, Gage Park, stand up, Shot Town, baby. Okay, so when I was in high school, I I had different cliques, and a lot of my viewers, they Shot Towns, viewers, and I had different cliques, and I would hang with everyone because I didn't pick sides of who. I hung with the goths. I hung with people who snort, you know, I don't care, I ain't gonna do it, but I hung with them and I kept their secrets and I hung with, people who was doing a little something on the side. I hung with everybody and I didn't tell nobody what anybody was doing. One hand didn't have to know what the other one was doing. It's just people. They're all human. And I, of course, hung with different races. But Chicago isn't known for their gangs. They're known for the mafia, so don't tell nobody, that kind of mentality is the one to keep you going in life. So I definitely developed that understanding young in life. But in this particular group I was kicking it with in this one day, we were walking instead of taking the bus home from school, PTA, public transportation, whatever you want to call it, the mean green, the big mean green. We were walking and there was a lot of commotion. And something was jumping off because it's always something jumping off. So people were rowdy and I'm just sitting there having fun. I'm just in the midst. And I'm like, man, what's going on? And then suddenly you hear a car skeeking down the road. And it's like everybody started taking off and bolting in different directions. And I hear some sounds, and then everything just goes blank. And I can't even move. I don't know what's going on. And I'm just standing there. And suddenly, I watch myself. I feel something push me, and I watch myself, not like a lot, but just a little nudge. And I watch myself fall to the ground with a bullet in my neck. And I'm just standing there in complete shock. Like, oh my God, I'm having an out of body experience. I'm dead. I'm dying, and nobody's around. Everybody's running away. Where's help? And then some screams, run, run, run. And I'm like, I can't run. I'm dead. Run. So I started running and started running. I didn't notice I was still standing up. I was in shock. I was terrified. I didn't know what was going on. You hear about all this stuff, but you see it in movies. And I was kind of sheltered, so I didn't really see it much. But anyway, because I was a church girl, not really seeing gangster mob movies and all that sort of thing when you were growing up in church. You're not seeing it. People cover your eyes. I'm a baby girl, so they cover my eyes. So anyway, I run and I didn't even tell my mother. I didn't tell anybody at church. I didn't tell anybody what happened, but I'm shook. And I get up the next day and I slowly figure out, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to school. And I was late, but I went. And when I arrived, there was an announcement over the school PA that was being saying, everybody who's been affected by the death of the shooting, and everybody who was involved in the shooting, who was there, report to this particular classroom or whatever. Hey Bobby, how you doing, bro? So I didn't think I would go, but somebody in the clique was just so happened to see me, and it was like, look, you were there. You are affected, whether you believe you're affected or not. Something's wrong with you. I guess it was visible. I'm not as aware as I wasn't aware then as I am aware now that my face need deliverance. So my facial expression must have gave it away that I'm struggling. So anyway, I went to the room. They accompanied me. They was like, "Nah, I'm gonna go with you. You gotta go. You gotta go, sis. You gotta go." So they accompanied me. I went and I still couldn't really talk. I wasn't saying anything. And when I walked in the room, before I can even walk in the room, there was this heaviness all the way down from the hall that you could feel all the way down the hall. As you walk into this room, it's getting heavier and heavier. And then you at the door and it's so heavy. I could barely like get in there. And when I get into the room, everybody's crying and wailing and telling, trying to comfort one another. Everybody's telling about their experience and where they were in the situation and how things went down or whatever. And I walk into the room and I'm just standing there in disbelief, just looking in the middle of the room, just looking. I'm not an emotional person, so I wasn't crying, but I'm just looking and not saying anything. And this one young lady must have been her best friend. She stopped crying and started screaming. There she is. There she is. Y'all lie. She not there. She right there. She's right there. That's her. That's her. That's her right there. They had to hold her back. And I'm standing there in disbelief, like, what in the world is going on? I thought I was crazy. I thought I was having an out of body experience. I thought I didn't know what to think. I was just shook, okay? Straight shook. I was young. I was just a little kid. And then this young lady, she's saying that up here, of course, and everybody was like, no, that's not her. And one of the teachers had to explain to the young lady, no, she does look really close to what she looks like, but that's not her. I spoke to the family myself, and I know she's gone. And they told us where her funeral service were and everything. Hey, Mr. Wiley, how are you doing? Man Up Show. Definitely check that out, viewers. Check that out. Um, Thank you for coming. I hope you stay and comment. So anyway, this moment was like nobody knew the headspace that anybody was in. Nobody could really tell anybody how to respond, how to react. And nobody thought about, like they do now about PTSD and all these problems that people carry on their shoulders because, you experienced a traumatic situation and now you have to deal with it. And now you're going to school the next day. They didn't cancel school. Everybody went to school that whole week like nothing happened. And drive-bys were something that was like consistent to the point where we needed metal detectors, but it was like that those children believe. People don't understand. Those children, it's not that those children were strong, it's the matter of the fact that they believed what those people were saying because that's all they could believe. you know you telling them kids, well, you'll be okay, just cry on my shoulder, that's all you really need, you'll be okay, you'll get over it, the loss that you suffered, the traumatic experience you've had, don't worry, you'll be okay. And they kept telling them that, and to the point where they believed it, and then they were okay. It's like people are not understanding. Well, they're just now understanding that a man believeth, so is he, and it's being manifest a lot more in these times where we're sitting here dealing with traumatic experience after traumatic experience after the other, one after the other, one after the other, and you really have no other choice but to um swim, sink, one of the two. You got to do one. And a lot of times, especially in the community that I was in, there wasn't anyone out here that was like, okay, yeah, we have some mental providers, some mental health care providers where we could provide you, the mental care that you need. We can, there's psychologists over here, there's doctors over. There was none of that. But these people were anomalies that mentally overcame what they what was binding them and hindering them towards mental well-being. And that's phenomenal. We don't revisit, things like that, but we should, because all these school shootings that's going on right now, we should definitely have those examples and find out what made those people able to overcome. Because now PTSD, I know people throwing it out there like it's, Ritalin, but if you think about it, it is. So there it is. But, I'm just a little distracted because I've been a bit overwhelmed with all of the drama I'm going through with trying to get this dissertation complete. And hopefully the team will get themselves together. I've already given them everything they need. Hopefully they'll get themselves together and do what's necessary. But that testimony is coming real soon, so don't worry. But the point of the matter is, hold on to the faith. You're going to realize that you're important in this big puzzle called life, and you're You're an invaluable part of the puzzle that is like your opportunity is just waiting to be manifest in order for everybody to understand your value and what it is that you contributed. So, you know, keep the hope. Don't end things on your own. Let it take its natural course and keep the faith, even if it doesn't look like anybody else believes in anything, you know, no matter how difficult it is. If don't nobody else believe, just keep holding on to the faith because you can get up and walk. The dead can walk. I'm difficult. You just difficult, period. You're not a difficult centerpiece, you just difficult, period. One thing about having a mate is you can disagree and you can agree to disagree without actually without it being fatal. It's not fatal. Too many disagreements. Yeah, you might not want to talk to me for a while. Don't talk to me. Okay, stop talking to me. Just stop breathing my way. Don't even breathe my way. Just go over there. Oh, but we sleep together. Turn over. Turn that way. I saw a TikTok and the guy was like, they're married. They've been married for quite a while. And he and his wife have their own rooms. And he's advocating, for marriages to stay together because they have their own rooms. And it's like, you know, they get together to do whatever they're gonna do, what married people do, but they kind of had their own rooms and everybody's happy with that. Now the comments were wow, but it seems like they were strong enough to handle that and it didn't get dark for them personally. They still married and going strong, so it's whatever. So I was like, that's an option. Like I wish I'd have known that when that brother started snoring at night, but at the same time I'm tripping. uh What you say, Mike? Oh, thank you. Check that out. Yeah, I picked this up a while ago. I got a T-shirt that looked just like it, but I wanted to rock the blue for number 3 to support number 3. I can't rock the Buffalo Bills paraphernalia because I'm a Bulls fan, I'm a Bears fan, I'm a Cubs and White Sox fan. I'm Chi-Town all the way, baby. So we got to rock the Chi-Town, but still show the love for number 3. What you say? I'm an all black piece from another puzzle. And see, love covers a multitude of sins. And I kind of understand what the Bible say when it say that. What it mean by that? So I love you, but yeah, you just as difficult as I am to. So I ain't tripping because I'm difficult. So people pull their hair out trying to deal with me. I'm big. Hey, I see some of your hats too, brother. I see some of your hats too. I'm watching the episodes that you put out there. I'm looking over Eddie's shoulder whenever I'm not knee deep into the research and the studies that I'm doing. But I kind of try to stay abreast with that because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But I'm definitely watching, and I'm also watching Pastor Gio. He has a streaming out, and I think I've commented on his thing. I'm terrible with names, but I am trying to do better. I'm working on doing better with names. I forgot the man's name. You could put it on here. Times when I'm saying something, me and Eddie already saying something in the back, and I'm saying, and he'll say, and sometimes when he comments, it's because of some things that we were already conversing on, and he's like, yeah, and he puts that in there. And sometimes I say, tell him I said that. Tell him I said it. He doesn't do it. But anyway, no, I appreciate you too, brother. So keep doing what you're doing. It's definitely a purpose. And at that appointed time, we all gonna see and we all gonna realize what that Bible say, every tongue gonna confess, every knee gonna bow. I truly believe that because even with the NFL, we saw a lot of people, take a knee. A lot of people took a knee. And even now again, once again, people taking a knee for the NFL. You know, they some people was laid out, they're like, oh my God, I can't even believe this. And they just falling out praying sincere, earnest prayers in to God, asking God, look, please cover this person. Please help this person. Please get this person up. And a lot of people was like, I don't even know this brother's name. I don't know this young man's name. But man, that's messed up. Man, God, man, I hope you got that person. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that people gotta go and start, how them preachers be in the pulpit. I got asthma. So I be struggling to breathe when I'm listening to some of them, sounding like that. And it's hard for me because it's like, man, I can't breathe. And now you're making me feel self-conscious, like I'm struggling to breathe because I'm listening to you, and that the God said, I can't, it really, it hurts. And it's like, man, I gotta get out here, get some air before I can sit here any longer. And it's bad because it's like, man, see, that's a little deep. You don't understand. That asthma thing is real, and it seems like y'all hurting. And I just want to offer you my inhaler. I hear somebody coughing. I'm like, oh my God, are you all right? I'm reaching for my inhaler. Like, are you all right? I'm willing to share. I don't care. I'm willing to share. Not being able to breathe ain't no joke. But anyway, it's just remarkable how, because of these events, it's shedding more light to studies that really are old but need to be said, and it bears repeating. But scientists are like, oh well, we can't measure it, we can't do this. And I did present an idea, a study that someone did, and I presented it to a couple of doctors to include my dissertation chair and team. And I was like, this study right here shows that, the measuring tools that scientists are using, well, it needs a little help because it's not measuring like we really want it to, in order for it to show the things that's real. These things are happening, even if we cannot replicate it to show and prove to other people that it's happening. It's in the pipeline, y'all. What I'm saying is, that faith of a mustard seed thing, scientists may not be able to measure it, and they may not have had vested interest in doing so prior to number 3 getting up and taking his bed and getting up and walk. And that's what happened. That's what we all witnessed, and there's no denying it because the doctor said what the doctor said, and they were professionals. And a lot of people will be like, well, he didn't have health care. He didn't have to have health care. He was rich. They were gonna make sure, and a lot of people were invested in him a lot of money. So they wasn't gonna let that young man die just to be letting that young man die after they put all that money into him. So full well them doctors were not going to tell anybody the wrong thing or lie. So full well that that was a miracle. And that miracle was manifested because the tiny bit of faith that a lot of people had. And God said, you know what? I got to show the people they need hope. It's too many people out here in dark spaces and dark places and can't get out and don't have any hope. God was like, you know what? I need to get some people some hope. There's some things that a lot of light is being shed on. And just because we're out here exposing the truth doesn't mean we're radicals. It means that we're exposing the truth and we're asking for help. This is why we need the help. This is why we need for people to say, look, I'm on board. I'm on your team. I'm on the team that's trying to reach towards progress and trying to unite a particular organization, which is fine, but and to further a particular theory or further a particular company, or provide more loyalty for the customers that's patronizing, the people, whatever the reason, whatever your logic is. Look, it is, when I say mental health is physical wealth, that is real. I didn't say it just to be sounding, special or special needs. We all on the spectrum at some point. I don't care if you admit it or not. I'm gonna admit it. We all on the spectrum somewhere, whether we narcissistic and, or we full of ourselves or delusions of grandeur. And I try to, balance myself so I don't have any of those problems. But the point of the matter is, I didn't say that because I love the sound of my own voice. I very rarely ever talk. So when I do finally say something to someone, I get it all out there. So I don't have to say nothing else. Why? Because I could be doing something else. I'd be doing anything else. I don't want to be talking to you all day when I could be doing something else. Hey, I could be playing Call of Duty. Now let me talk about Call of Duty for a moment. That game. They are so smart. That company, that organization is so intelligent. They were the only company, well, one of the very few companies that in the midst of all the global uh, crisis and chaos and everything that was going on wrong in the world, they were profiting. Their profits in stock markets and their shareholders and investors, they were gaining. They were big gains. I'm definitely on this. I know, right? But it's like, man, what did they have? What did they understand that anybody else should have saw and they capitalized on? Show is almost over, so I can't get into that. But I'm just gonna say, look into it and keep watching for other episodes because I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna dig into it. I'm gonna unpack it. Today's episode was for number three. Number three, and I had to represent Chi-Town. Chi-Town, stand up. What you say? I don't know what that means, bro. That's my little brother. I don't know what that means. But anyway, um, so when we go out here, we think there's no hope. When we go out here, we think I'll never get a time. I'll never get a chance. I don't know what my appointed time is. Just keep on living through it. Live through it. And you will eventually have your moment. And that moment is something that everybody needs and everybody's looking for. And I love TikTok for the fact that a couple of my Facebook posts were geared towards um, a lot of the TikToks that I've been watching. They're so fast, you got a moment, you can watch one. And for some reason, this young lady popped up and she was crying. And she was like, her husband was leaving her. This is for the hurt wives, I think she said. Her husband was leaving her. She did all that she could do. And she was faithful and loyal. And she was like, she's just going to let him go. And I'm like, watching and I'm looking. And I hope that she was able to see that Facebook post because, you know, I feel like, that's sincerely how I feel. And I want to, encourage her and encourage others, that may be in her position that's going through the same hurt and pain. You're right. You know, you don't have to beg anybody to stay with you. And there's still hope for you because that did not define you. That is not, you know, that is not all. That's not all you have in your life. There's something more. So keep on going. Don't stop. And if you know Pumpkin Phillips, just go. I post, public, so you can go and see that on Pumpkin Phillips Facebook page. But there was another one another TikTok that I saw I wanted to speak about real quick. It was a TikTok of Rico, I think it was the young man. There was a young man. Now on Pumpkin Phillips, the first thing it says is warning possible trigger video. Now in this video, this young man is just on the street randomly, and he walking down the street, and it's like he's trying to end it all. And the young man got out of his car, seeing this, and he stopped that young man from, you know, hurting himself fatally. And it was like I watched the entire video, and it's like if you were to see that happening, would you get out of your car? Would you get out of your car and stop that person? So it's just to say, be vigilant. Be vigilant and keep an eye on your neighbors. Keep an eye. And who is your neighbors? It's not just the people you live next door to. It's people you walking down the street or driving by, and they're on the street on the bus stop or something like that. It's those homeless people who digging through the trash looking for something to eat. I know myself. I When I was young, I was working way up north in Chicago. This white collar office position I had, and I had my lunch and I didn't finish it, so I was going to eat the rest of it for dinner. And on the way home, I saw this man 6:30 hosted rumbling through the trash looking for something to eat. What I do? When the light came on, I had to, keep driving, but I ran all the way back gave him my food and a drink. And I can miss a meal. I ain't scared. I'll get something tomorrow. That was all I had for today, but I'll get something tomorrow. And that'll be that. But I, I don't I don't ever want anybody to feel like you don't have any hope. There's hope. Just be vigilant. Put it out in the atmosphere that you're giving that mustard seed to other people, and you're feeding positivity into their life, because you don't know when you're going to need to reap the harvest of that love, that attention, that support, that faith. The life that you're speaking into others will be spoken back into you, and you might be able to take up your bed and walk like number three did. Now, I can't wait to hear what else this young man has to say. I'm definitely going to be watching. I know a lot of you are going to be watching, but that's my show for today. Remember, mental health is physical wealth. Now, watch all these people start investing more money into mental health. Now, when people are making it more of an in your face topic, and companies are going to be able to put their financial awareness as to how it's impacting them and their company and their organization and their finances and their loyalty and their customers, when they see, oh, you mean if I support this, you'll be more confident in my business, and you'll patronize me more, and I can profit more. Yeah, 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 that'll happen, because then people can't they can patronize nothing, so they can't put any money or time or invest anything into your company. So let's invest in being aware, being vigilant, and being helpful to people who are in dark spaces. And let's stop speaking such negativity into people who are standing in the need of prayer. All right, that's my show for today. Stay encouraged.